Well, the Environmental Working Group, which does sound official, but is not any sort of like government or research-based entity, they're just a group, has come up with a dirty dozen. There's a list of foods that are recommended to be bought as organic due to the risks of pesticide exposure. So on this list, you got spinach, kale, strawberries, grapes, and a number of other foods. They also have another list, which also has a catchy title, Clean 15, pineapple, sweet corn, avocado. You're supposed to buy all these things organic, right? Now, at face value, you're like, oh, pesticides? I don't want those. But, as we've noted in a number of our mystery cases, the dose matters here. So the Environmental Working Group has constructed this list from USDA pesticide data, but they rank them by 6 metrics, none of which stratify the pesticides based on their known risk profile. They acknowledge this. The Environmental Working Group acknowledges this in their own methodology. They say, the shopper's guide does not incorporate risk assessment into the calculations. All pesticides are weighted equally, and we do not factor in the levels deemed acceptable by the EPA. They're just rejecting the EPA. Now, look, I'm not defending the EPA, but it's like, if you're not toxicologists and you're not using any mechanistic data to figure out, is this particular agent risky, potentially beneficial or whatever, what are your methods here? Doesn't really make sense to me. Now, the actual dietary exposure data makes this list look even worse and, yes, worthy of just dismissing. It is estimated that the consumer exposure to the 10 most frequently detected pesticides on each dirty dozen food, 120 different combinations, when compared to the EPA chronic reference doses, 75% of them showed that consumer exposure is below 0.01% of the reference dose, roughly 1 million times below the no observed adverse effects levels from the studies that we currently have. Only one of the 120 combinations exceeded 1% of the reference dose. To be clear, you need to be above 100% of the reference dose. And that was on bell peppers, which is still, again, almost 50 times below the safety threshold. So all of this to me is like, yeah, we should dismiss this out of hand. And that's where the, your strawberries are safe thing came from. And so the question that people really have when it comes to the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15, any sort of list like this, well, should I buy organic or not, right? And there's no real difference in vitamin content, protein, fat, or fiber when it comes to organic versus regular produce. This has been tested a number of different times. There is a slightly less, about 30% less pesticide contamination in organic produce. But again, all of these levels are teeny tiny, and organic costs about 50% more on average. So for budget-constrained consumers, the evidence favors spending that money on more produce rather than organic produce. And that's where I'm kind of at. Like, look, if this really resonates with you, you're like, pesticides, no way, don't care about the EPA, don't care about toxicology, whatever. I just don't want any pesticides. And you're rich, buy organic. Anybody else, don't buy organic. Austin, are you a big organic food guy?
I would say I'm not somebody who consistently seeks out those products, but I don't also consistently seek to avoid them either. And I think that that's just a matter of having some familiarity with this evidence that you're citing, where it's not likely to make a big difference in ultimate health outcomes, but I'm also not terribly price sensitive at the levels of like the prices of those types of produce products. I think that, as you mentioned, for the budget constrained consumer, again, if it's like, well, should I use my money to buy this organic product, or the alternative being to not buy this produce at all and instead go to a packaged, ultra processed food item or something that is not a vegetable at all that could be potentially contaminated with pesticides, I think you're making the wrong choice in that decision, and would much prefer you go with the non-organic version of that produce, because it's more likely to be health promoting and it will also be a bit less expensive. But that's not something that really impacts most of my shopping decisions.
Yeah, I actually pick the non-organic version most of the time. One, because it's cheaper. That's it. And the whole thing is, I need tire budget. I need money for tires. and that's true. Look, if you're into auto racing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not, just trust. We need a tire budget here. So to wrap this one, eat more fruits and vegetables, conventional or organic, whichever you'll actually buy. If the daily dozen resonates with you, use it as a checklist, but it's only useful if you actually use it. And again, your strawberries are fine.